I'm trying to be right over time. Like, yeah, I don't have to be right tonight. But if someone listens to this and says, hey, I like your thought on this, but this is a little different. This is my experience. And if I'm a much stronger man for it 2 years from now because of someone's comments, then here I am, you know.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Time Well Spent with Ronald, the podcast that nobody asked for, yet somebody is listening to. I'm Ronald, aka Oh, It's Big Ron. Let's get right to it. We're continuing our series this week about race, specifically talking about biracial people and interracial relationships. You just heard an opening clip from today's guest, and I will now let them introduce themselves.
My name is Meg, and I'm white.
My name is AJ, and I'm black.
We're married.
AJ and Meg recently had a child, a little girl. So I joined them to have a little conversation about what it's like to raise a child that is biracial. When I first approached AJ and Meg, it was for my web show, 10 Minutes with Ronald, which used to be on Facebook. They both had a bit of hesitation about appearing on the show. During our conversation this time for the podcast, I talked to Meg and asked her to explain a little bit about why she was nervous.
I am chronically afraid of coming across an expert on things that I know comparatively so little about. And I hate it when people act like they know more about something. Feminism, all the things I'm passionate about or that weigh heavily on my mind. Feminism, racism, race relations, everything that I really care about, I hate coming across I know anything about them, even though probably compared to most people I know more, but I have this chronic insecurity of sounding overly didactic about something that there's always going to be someone out there that knows more about that than I do, and I replay this image of them listening to this and being like, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about. So and then on this topic specifically, white people have so many opinions, and they're the last people who should really be standing on any kind of soapbox telling anyone the way it is. So that makes me a little bit more hesitant as well.
Now, what Meg said about white people having so many opinions is not a clever ruse to get white people to stop talking about their opinions or talking about their perspectives. However, what she's alluding to is the idea that people of color have not been a part of the conversation. So if anything, it's more of a plea asking for other people to talk and weigh in with their perspectives. AJ, being the insightful person that he is, spoke a little bit about not only his hesitation to appear on the show, but his real motivation for getting into discussions with people, whether it be on social media or in life.
It's hard for me to take a stand and give my opinion, knowing that I'm gonna have to come back and defend my opinion, when really conversation should be about growth and trying to figure out why my personal experiences framed my feelings and why their personal experiences framed their feelings.
So I think based on their introduction that they both have a good grasp on learning and growing as parents. In our previous episode, my mother spoke a little bit about what it's like to be a parent. One of the common things she always said was that there's no manual for parenting. That being said, she also talked about how the world interacts with her child. I think Meg and AJ have a very good grasp about thinking about how the world interacts with your child, because that speaks a lot to what you tell them about race as they walk out the door. Much of how we perceive race has more to do with how the world perceives us, more so than how we perceive the world. Here, Meg talks a little bit about her feelings about how the world interacts with their child and how they plan to address that.
Anyway, the discussion that we would always have, AJ and I, that we were always in agreement on from the beginning, I just had never thought about it the way AJ said it was. And we didn't know what our kid was going to look like. And at that point, I don't even think we knew if it was a boy or a girl. But he said when that child walks into the world's going to think of them as black. And I don't want them to have any confusion about that fact. And they'll obviously be mixed because I'll be here every day and he'll be here every day. They'll know who their parents are. But they need to understand that no matter what their personal identity is, which we can have a separate discussion on, what we're going to try to foster that as. But when they walk into the world, they will be black. When they're in their class and the teacher tells them to sit down and they don't, and they get suspended or, 3 times and they're expelled, they need to understand that they are not some white kid doing whatever they please. They are a black kid, a black girl, or a black boy who is misbehaving and thus has a certain reaction given to them that's different than what would have been given to a white kid.
This alludes back to what Alex was talking about in the first episode about what the world treats you like when you don't appear white. That all being said, AJ begins to talk a little bit more about identity in this next clip and talking about his daughter, viewing his daughter as a complete person due to the fact that her mother is white and that he is black, but his daughter being able to touch both sides of her identity by expressing who she actually is with regards to race. I have to apologize because early on in this clip, I was pouring some water to drink and it kind of got on the mic. So just disregard that.
I want my daughter to say, I'm mixed. I look black, but I'm mixed. And I want her to say that because I'm not with Meg for her to be dismissed. Like, I think my wife is dope and my daughter is a product of that. So everyone should know when she talks about who she is, she references her mom. But what's going to happen, what I think is going to happen, I don't know. I mean, things will change. But given under the idea that the lighter you are means that you're doing things more properly or you're better, chance to be more successful. And on the black side, if she corrects somebody when they say you're black, she's like, well, yes, but I'm mixed. They're going to think that she is trying to dismiss the blackness. Mm-hmm. On the white side, if she says, well, yeah, I am black, but I'm also mixed, they're going to think that she's trying to conform and join. And in actuality, she's trying to stand alone and be as strong, if not stronger than the rest of them.
This type of strength that AJ is referring to is the strength of an individual who is 100% confident in who they are as a person. This is being 100% who you are at all times. AJ and Meg are very aware of their abilities as parents, and they both consider themselves to be feminist. However, Meg brings up a very good point about what it's like to raise a child when you're not so confident in your ability to relate to your child's perception of themselves or the world.
What I don't know how to do is teach her about being a black woman. And yeah, she's going to be a mixed woman. And maybe she won't be like a black woman in the ways that black women struggle today. Maybe being half white will benefit her. Being lighter skinned will benefit her, maybe. But I still want her to understand as much as anyone can without actually being a full black, dark-skinned black woman. I still want her to understand how hard that is and why.
In the next clip, Meg continues to talk more about giving her child a foundation of blackness as a woman and how she plans to use the resources around her in order to make sure her daughter has a full picture of what that experience looks like.
To be an intersectional person, which Elliot will be, I want to give her a good foundation. The only person that's going to be able to understand how all those things work together is her. But if we can give her a good foundation in being black, a good foundation in being a woman, and then a good foundation in being a black woman, then hopefully we also give her the tools, the social tools, the intellectual tools to synthesize all of that and somehow interpret the world in a way that's fair, aware, responsible, and confident.
In this next clip, AJ talks a lot about teaching his child history and allowing them to be rooted to where they come from. He believes that giving his daughter this type of foundation will serve her well as she begins to navigate the complicated world of race that we live in today.
You have to know your history. Not because I need you to carry that as a burden, but I need her to know the sacrifices that were made for her to get to this point, right? Like, so Meg and I are blessed to be able to provide her love and an opportunity to be successful in this world. They say 1.2 to 2.4 African slaves died on the way over here. Not even talking about the amount of African Americans that were killed throughout, from the 1700s to now, right? So for the sacrifices that were made to just get from day to day, sacrifices that my mom made, that her grandmother made. Her grandmother made. she needs to know those stories so that when she's presented with maybe a tough situation, she needs to say, no, I'm going to compete and overcome this. Like race isn't going to drive my life. I'm a product of some strong people, right? My dad's high school integrated his freshman year. He finished his freshman year at his all black school, and then sophomore year we went to an integrated high school. My mom lived on the same block as one of the girls that died in the Birmingham church bombings. Wow. My mom's second grade teacher was Angela Davis's mom. So I'm a product of. But both of my parents could have very easily said, "Yo, white people, man, mean-spirited. I don't want you to deal with them, right?" That obviously was not how they raised me, because here I am now. So teaching kids about race and the history of it is important. One, because America, like that, those kinds of incidents should not be erased from the history of this country, because that's what it is. And my child doesn't necessarily have to be burdened by that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But for me, I need her to know that, because there's going to be tough situations. I need her to have the energy and the desire to be grateful for the opportunities that are presented to her today. Because a lot of sacrifices were made, a lot of tears and fears went through people's minds and lives to get her here. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So that's probably how I want to deal with the race, is not, hey, when you go out to today, you're going to be disrespected because of your race. But it's just know that these things happened in the past, and it's possible that this person you meet might not have been raised to like black people. Someone might be okay with you at school. Then I come to pick you up and they find out that your dad is black. They might not want to talk to you tomorrow, and you're going to be upset. Like, well, why didn't he want to talk to me? But having that historical foundation, it will ease the pain of like, oh, it's a shame that person isn't up on the year 2025 thing that's going on.
I think that about sums it up for the biracial series. My only goal was to get the conversation flowing about what it's like to be black in America and to be biracial in America. This is something that I think it's very important for white parents of children of color to understand, because you can't assume that the construct of whiteness will be applicable to a child who the world does not see as white. As much as we love our children, and as much as we expect them to do well in the world, and as much as we expect the world to treat our children with respect, the reality of the situation is that in many cases, the world does not do that. If I had to sum everything up, here's what I would say. Think about how the world views your child and equip them to face that world. Hopefully I got that point across within these last 3 episodes. If not, like AJ said, I don't need to be right now. I just need to be right over time. Time Well Spent with Ronald is a production of Oh It's Big Ron Studios. Creative support from Mass Potential and Ben Schallenberger. Special thanks to Meg and AJ Fitzgerald. Theme music provided by royalty-free music from Ben Sound. Outro music provided by Michael Corte. You could check out Michael Corte's other work on ohitsbigron.com. Got a question about the show? Got some feedback? Follow me on Twitter at OHITSBIGRON. Time Well Spent will be back soon. Thanks for listening.
And we're married.
We are married.
We should say that together. 1, 2, 3. We're married.
Oh, well, I found my blooper.
Yeah, right.